People want to feel like they know what they're seeing. And to some degree, we don't know anymore. AI is going to do incredible things in the creator space. I also think that what's human is going to be much more premium than it ever has been before.
Hi, I'm Corey Kareen, and welcome back to The Intersect. Today we're talking about AI in advertising and who is fooling whom. Okay, so you're scrolling, or maybe you're just standing on a subway platform, and you see an ad and something about it just feels off. The skin's too smooth, the eye's a little too bright, the background's so clean it looks like it's been scrubbed by code. You can't quite place it, but you know what it is. AI-generated advertising that is now moving through our feeds and being printed for our billboards. But advertising has always sort of played with illusion. That perfect milk in those cereal commercials, not milk. But this AI moment also feels sort of different, right? Content isn't, quote, crafted like it used to be. It's generated, and at massive scale, sometimes with no human in the loop. Our team kept coming back to this question. Do we only care about AI when we can see it? Caroline Giegerich, VP of AI at the Interactive Advertising Bureau, joins us this week and tells us that deception in marketing isn't new, but it's getting harder to decode what's real, what's synthetic, and what's somewhere in between. Let's get into it. Caroline Giegerich, welcome to The Intersect.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited also. To tee us up here before we get going, you're a tech blogger. You were a tech blogger very early. You're now an advertising leader. You'll take us on your journey. You're the vice president of AI at IAB. You'll tell us what that means. You're at the center of how ads are bought and sold and regulated across every medium. This makes you the perfect person to explore the intersection we're in right now, where advertising is mixed in with content itself. So I want to dig into how AI is reshaping advertising from both a business POV as well as a consumer POV. You know, you're on the front lines and what this means for consumers, for creators, and the standards that you're helping to set.
Big questions.
Yeah, no, this is we're talking future of advertising, but just like future of content and future of culture, because it's all sort of mixed together. So, let's just start with, I said like IAB. I mean, who in the world knows what that, I know what that means, but I worked in media my whole career. So can you explain that to us and then explain what you do as the VP of AI?
Yes. So it stands for Interactive Advertising Bureau. And the way I like to describe it is going back to some of the beginnings. In the beginning of the internet, think like net zero when we were using dial-up internet and all that good stuff. It was kind of a Wild West like it is in AI now. No one really knew what was a standard advertising format. No one really had aligned on what measurement was. So every platform and advertiser had a different idea, which was messy. It was chaotic and no one could align. And so the IAB sprang up kind of out of the need of, can you, clean this up and make it so that we can all sort of operate on similar wavelengths, if you will. And that's how it came into maturation. And as for what I do now, I started 6 months ago, so I'm still fairly new in the role, but my job is to really dig into this AI meets advertising intersect, which is vast, as you know, and sort of apply best practices, standards, and frameworks in all of the spaces in which they concentric circle and overlap. And so that's what I've been up to.
Okay, that's a lot of concentric circles then, because literally everything is overlapping. Okay, so we are now at this AI meets advertising intersection, and I want to just ground us in what's going on. As a recent example, there was this J.Crew ad where a pair of vans went viral for basically being AI. It was spotted by the audience. Consumers saw it and pointed it out and seemed very upset about what they had, that they'd been tricked by this very classic magazine ad. Why were they so upset?
Well, there were several things that stood out to the first kind of start of it was actually that lifestyle blog named Blackbird Spylane started to internet sleuth into the campaign and started to outline glitches and weirdness in the overall like photos and ads. And so as they did that, of course, everyone else sort of started to pick away. Like, what about this? What about this? Things that I would never notice. They started to piece by piece by piece. And then they found out that someone that was creatively involved with the ad was an AI artist, and then it was labeled digital art. And I think the reason why this sort of sent some audiences for a loop is that they felt deceived. Whether that's true deception, I don't exactly know, to be honest with you. Everything that J. Crew used, that was AI, so I can't say. But I can say that people generally don't like to feel like they've been deceived. If we order the burger and we got the black bean, we're going to be like, wait, what? We just don't like it as a concept. Let me just say, I think what's really fascinating to me is that for both content producers and advertisers, they are storytellers. They're magicians in a sense, right? So, for instance, I know that ChatGPT revolutionized how people think about AI, but Game of Thrones hasn't been using thousands of actors and shots for years, right? In advertising, whenever you saw the cereal with the bowl of the milk that goes in and it looks like so loud, you're like, how is that milk? Well, because it wasn't milk, or like stock photos.
What do you mean it wasn't milk?
No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But like, these are all the tricks of the trade of making it look as good as possible. So before AI existed, of course, there's Photoshop filters, and think back to the 90s and the Kate Moss and the waif style and all of that, right? People had feelings about how much manipulation was okay, but the tools of the trade are shifting all the time, but there's always, let's say, some magic that's going in to some degree, always.
I sort of knew that the milk was fake. The milk looks too perfect. But you're like, no, Corey, the milk has always been fake. It's fake.
I don't know about always. That's too totalitarian.
Like, in a lot of cases, yeah. Or like maybe the food's painted to look appetizing or something like that. But that isn't disclosed in an ad. You said something about how consumers do not like to be deceived. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, and that's something that we at the IAB are thinking about a lot, is this idea of AI transparency and disclosure. We are spending a lot of time thinking about how consumers react. Some of our research happened before I even joined the company, done by our excellent research team, but it shows split views to some degree on how people think about advertising. When I say split, I mean some Gen Z and millennial audiences are thinking positively about AI-generated advertising, and some have more critical thoughts. And it doesn't seem to me that there's a clear one side wins out. We are continuously thinking up new ways to, study these audiences to maybe get at that more succinctly. But at the end of the day, just going back to your J. Crew ad, I think what bothered people was that they felt like they were being deceived. One could argue that either way, it's good for J. Crew, because how much awareness would they have had? Just, a regular social ad goes out. Would they have gotten this much attention? I don't know. So it's, one could argue that this actually increased awareness around this campaign that J. Crew was trying to run. But I think the reaction was very much like, one, internet sleuths are an absolute thing, as you know.
Yeah.
And two, people want to feel like they know what they're seeing. And to some degree, even on the content spectrum of things, we don't know anymore. Like, it's unclear. You're like, is that real? Or is that a voice clone? Which is dicey.
Before we get into like how we label these things, it's like the nutrition label of content or something. I don't know. But there was a Guess AI ad. They created 2 different ads with these AI models, and it ran in Vogue. And the reaction on that was a bit different. I mean, when they like labeled it, if I remember correctly, it was not like, this is AI. It was just like, it's like fine print, right? But it was still, it was a label in some way. So that's just in contrast. But it's also, when I think about them, I mean, I want your opinion, obviously, but what Guess was they're using an AI model, an AI talent, and a personality that people are going to follow and become. I mean, who knows? I don't know. Or it's just like an efficient model play.
Synthetic human.
A synthetic human. Okay. But then like what J. Crew is they're creating an ad, and instead of it's creating production efficiency, and that like we're using an AI vans to sort of make this photo as like optimized as it can be without a million retouches and needing to reshoot. Or this is in my imagination, that the sort of spectrum of use between the two things.
No, that's not at all, because I'll say this is exactly what we're trying to think through. You don't want to apply a universal label to any AI, right? Because if you did, think about how many ads would get an AI label. You mean if you used a ChatGPT to do some copy? I mean, without that would be a lot of ads. You used AI to, change the background. It was cloudy and you wanted it to be sunny. You want to label it AI. I mean, because audiences have differing views about how they feel about AI, you don't want to just blanket everything AI. You want to have certain thresholds for, if we really make it about consumer deception, at what level does it feel like consumer deception? A synthetic influencer, if not labeled, like the joke I always tell is, if a synthetic influencer gets me to buy skin cream for wrinkles and I find out it wasn't even a real person, I'm going to be so upset. But that'll be real deception. Like, imagine we watched a synthetic influencer put this on her face and then be like, this is what I now look like. And all of it was not real.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like some deception. And in fact, from state by state regulation, we see some of that coming out with New York State, like identifying synthetic influencers as an area of risk that needs its own labeling. And I think that's why, because that does seem like a dicey area to be in if you're not labeling it as such.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So this is a patchwork state regulatory approach to how AI and advertising is showing up on people's feeds and streams. I sort of see AI like microplastics. It's just showing up unwittingly, like in our music and our podcasts, our books, literally everything. So I'd love for you to tell us about how you and the IAB are thinking about labeling or disclosing AI in ads.
Yeah. And I will say, first of all, we don't do this work alone. We have working groups of our members who are incredibly thoughtful about the spaces that they live in, from platforms, from publishers. We have brands, we have ad tech folks, but all of us convene together to have these conversations. The way I sometimes describe IAB is like Switzerland, but Switzerland that can kind of connect all these groups together to have these really important discussions and try to work out things that are messy, right? So the way we've been thinking about it, and technically this work is ongoing, so it's meant to come out later. So some I can talk about now, and some will be, when we finally get to the finish line, will be finished. But this idea of consumer deception is at the heart of it. So when thinking about these thresholds, we think about what applies as consumer deception and what doesn't. I also want to say that that's not like a fixed feeling, okay? Because in doing this work, many standards that IAB has actually shift over time because we as humans are not fixed in place.
Yeah.
The example I like to give is, do you remember when online banking first came and everyone was very, very nervous about putting their information?
I'm not putting my social security number on the internet. What do you mean?
And there was that lock that meant this is going to be secure.
HTTPS, that, like, yes, that, that standard. Yeah.
Right. So people would see it and be like, okay, this is safe. I can do it. And then, fun fact, cut to now, you probably didn't even notice, but it's been eliminated from several browsers because it's just not necessary anymore. People have gotten so used to online banking that they just don't need that additional trust factor anymore. AI will have phases, right? Where comfort levels will shift. And so it's not like if we come up with something right now, just to say it, that it won't shift over time. The work will just need to continue. But what is consumer deception is a good starting point because that will change, right? I also, alongside the rest of the incredible working group members, have been thinking about technology standards that exist and how we could use them to make this process easier. So things like C2PA, for example. It is a open technical standard. The best way I can describe it is if you have been on LinkedIn and you see a photo, this will be the consumer-facing side of it. You may see something that says CR. It's a little bubble and it says CR in it. The next time you're on LinkedIn, you're finally going to see it. And you're
Okay.
like, oh, that's it. Okay. So LinkedIn enabled C2PA, and every time an image is created using OpenAI, it gets C2PA standards. So they're just automatically put in. You, the user, aren't aware, but those C2PA open text standards say, this was generated by OpenAI. So if I click on it on LinkedIn, it'll say generated by OpenAI, right? So that's the consumer-facing side of it. But all of the open text standard is the stuff that's being shared between platforms.
Yeah. Okay. I follow. Let's talk a little bit about creators. It seems like not that long ago, and I've been running media companies, digital publishing companies for a minute, and those businesses, which were traditionally running on, the digital side of them on digital advertising, right? But in the last, I would say 5-ish, really COVID onward is kind of the move to influencers, the move to people as media brands, and the sort of advertising world became a creator world in terms of opened up an aperture of like, we don't just advertise with publishers, we advertise with people, right? And now, let me just fast forward to like Tilly Norwood, who is this AI actress who's looking for representation. SAG-AFTRA says like, no, we represent humans. Digital advertising has shifted from, these like places and portals and publishers that people have gone to, and it's moved to the social media landscape where you can follow people and their TikToks and IG. So my question is like, are you getting any advertising like interest, or is it coming up for you guys that, how do you do influencer content with synthetic actors?
Yes, a couple things outside of Tilly, and Tilly's more on the content side, at least my understanding for now, but
she's an actress.
But the idea of virtual influencers has existed for a long time. The first one that comes to mind for me is Little Michaela.
Oh, yeah, Little Michaela. Oh,
Little
yeah.
Michaela. It always fascinates me, too, because she's got 2 million followers now. And I remember just spending some time hanging out in the comments. And we all realize it's, there's a person behind Little Michaela, like programming her, but she herself is not real. And it just seems like all of the comments have just sort of assumed that she is an entity of some sort and interface with her like she's a her, which is wild to me. My colleague is really trying to work out both the completely virtual influencer side, and then there's the digital twin side. The digital twin side is, let's say you're Remy Bader. Now, I have no idea what Remy Bader is doing. I'm just using her as an example. Okay. Remy Bader is an influencer that I frankly love to pieces, who was a plus size model for a while. She was the one who was trying on all of the clothes and the weird model formations and taking photos of herself and making fun of the whole process. And then she went through a grand body transformation. Remy. Okay. If Remy's digital twin is showing up for an appearance in a social ad, Remy now has an ability to not even be there and be making money and controlling even the script and all of these things. That's powerful because now they're extending their monetization layer, but working out how all of that works The talent agencies are trying to figure it out. The advertisers are trying to figure it out. The companies that represent these entities outside of the talent agencies, this is like the land of trying to figure it out right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It strikes me that this is the future of advertising. This is the future of content. This is the future of how we're going to make and monetize things in some way.
It's interesting that you say that, because someone that I know quite well, who's quite big in the creator space, disagrees vehemently.
Yeah.
And I know why he does.
It's a horrible, you can paint it as a very horrible future, right? It's like, I care about journalism. I care about content. I care about people doing information. But this is happening. So anyway, so go on.
Huge proponent of AI, and I think AI is going to do incredible things in the creator space and empower creators in really interesting ways. I also think that what's human is going to be much more premium than it ever has been before. Because we used to expect everything to be human, right? And now it's kind of a murky world where we're like, was that a voice clone? Is that AI? I don't know. And then this what is human is bound to be even more important. But there's going to be, we're already seeing it, right? This idea of, sadly, AI slop is... When anyone can make something, right? Anyone does. That doesn't make it good. It just means there's more stuff.
It means there's more stuff, and it's harder to get people's attention. And so, you work in the attention economy, right? We're trying to get people's attention to consume some content, whether that's an ad or that's editorial, whatever it is. We're trying to get people's attention. And if there's more content and it's effectively slop, because you can make it really cheap, you can make it really fast, but can you make it good? Can you do those three things? It depends on what you're trying to make. Absolutely, when you think about like integrity and premiumness and excellence, you work at HBO, like they make excellent things. I would like to think that we make an excellent podcast. There are humans making this, but we're using all the tools. But in a world where it's like this stuff in some ways like microplastics and it's going to be showing up, just kind of bringing that back, we're living with it. How are you? So you've been there for 6 months. You're working on this framework. What is the next step in trying to kind of roll some of this out, or how can consumers expect to begin to understand this is AI, this isn't AI? Yeah. Do you have any specifics to share?
I think the most important thing is having some structure of consistent labeling. Like, I don't know if you saw Andrew Cuomo's recent ad that had him, it's AI generated, had him doing a whole bunch of different jobs that he generated with AI. And then there was like that text at the bottom of the screen that's like that classic political font sort of thing. The lack of consistency of labeling, to me, is part of the entire consumer confusion, And so, number one, I'd like to see more consistent labeling. And that's what we're trying to solve for, right? Like, what do we all agree is the right way forward for the industry? The other thing, and this is not a consumer-facing thing, it has to be easy enough for the industry to implement. So I think that's really important as well.
These things are all happening, these AI personalities, these avatars. You can monetize your social while you're sleeping. A brand wants to buy into that. It's creating a bunch of cool stuff. What is your vision of, AI in the next couple of years in this business?
Well, first of all, yes, there's a lot of dark things you can think about. But to me, behind all of these tools, right? Like, you are the genius behind, along with your staff, this podcast, right? Like, if we thought about Geppetto with Pinocchio, right? Like, would Pinocchio have looked as totally cool and been able to make all the movements without Geppetto? No, Geppetto was a master. So my point about that is, people freak out about this AI thing and that AI thing and that AI thing. And I'm always like, listen, the thing is, the audience decides. If they don't like it, don't you worry. It won't exist. It'll be like cute, shiny button stuff, but it won't last the test. And that's a very different thing. So yes, is there a lot of stuff, some of it good, some of it bad, a lot of it bad? Yes, but it weeds itself. Like, you don't have to worry about it. You know, like those concentric circles, like the things I can control, the things I can influence, the things out of my control. Yeah, out of your control. But don't you worry. The market decides. And if you think it's bad, there's a whole slew of other people that also think it's bad. It will die. I'm not saying AI dies. The bad things will just get weeded out over time. It's a cycle technology, right? The cycle in the beginning is vast amounts of intrigue and tools and things. And then eventually, if you think about the beginning of social media to now, it kind of stabilizes into, oh, that's what the thing is. We're just still in the messy beginning to middle part where everything still feels like all over the place.
It sounds like there's a lot of work that has to be done, and that's some of the work that you guys are putting in. But it's what I'm hearing, and correct me, is that, you know, it's not you're open, it's here, you are embracing it, you and your colleagues are all working together to figure out how this should show up for consumers, and then ultimately the consumer will decide, you know, do we want these synthetic influencers or not? Do you want them? Do we like them?
Yeah. Are they great? Like when I was at Warner Music Group, this is the first time I saw the idea of digital twins being used. Like FKA Twigs sent her digital twin to do PR, and I was like, oh. The reason why that blew up my head was not just because she was using it to do something. It's because she was using it to do the things she didn't want to do, so she could do more of the things she did want to do. And I was like, oh, like artists don't like to do talent reads. I can't imagine creators do. So like imagining it interfacing for you with the things that you don't want to do so you can do more of the things you really do love to do. Like, we didn't talk about this, but you know, because you've been in the space for so long, creators are massively overwhelmed most of the time.
Yeah.
Because they're in an always-on medium and their mental health is being completely tapped to its breaking point. So if there's something that can offshore a little bit still in their control, that could actually have vast positive implications for their own mental health. Like, there's so much goodness here. I know that there is a lot that feels sticky because it hasn't been worked out yet. And believe me, it feels sticky to me too. But what I think will net out will be the things that actually bring us forward. And a lot of, like, you can already see Spotify literally removing so much AI generated stuff because it doesn't want its product to be known for that stuff.
Thank you for painting that, to giving a little bit of life and sort of, you know, a way in to think about it that isn't all doom and gloom. And I like the idea of, like, consumers don't want to be deceived. So they're on this journey with us. Did I miss anything? Anything you wanted me to touch on?
The only thing I'll say is the minute we have that framework on transparency and disclosure done, you'll be the first to know.
I love that. We love that here at The Intersect. Okay, Caroline, you're Vice President of the Artificial Intelligence at the IAB. Thank you so much for being here again. And
thank you for having me.
We'll look forward to those guidelines. I'm going to say something kind of counterintuitive to everything we've just talked about. I am not sure authenticity is entirely disappearing. It's definitely getting harder to spot, even if that authenticity might be made with AI. Overall, Caroline presents AI as a tool for brand storytelling, and I agree with that. But the big questions I'm left with are how we label and present these new AI creations to audiences, but also if that might even matter in the ways we would like to think. We say this a lot on the show, but we are really living in a hybrid world on and offline, with real and AI-produced realities, which we will continue to explore here. Okay, that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us on The Intersect. And if you're liking the show, please hit follow wherever you're listening. It helps other people find the show. Lastly, if you have ideas for stories you think we should cover, email us at ideas@theintersectshow.com. We actually read every email. We'll be back next week.